Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of the DZR Nutrition Podcast, the podcast where we bring you cutting edge science in sports, nutrition, and health. In each episode, we are going to dive deep into a subject or a question, see what the science says, explain it in simple terms, and summarize it into practical recommendations based on the evidence. So, in today's episode, we are going to try to dive into the sugar topic. So, we all know sugar is pretty demonized in our society. And nowadays, I don't know about where you live, but in my society, the Arabic society, sugar is the demon right there. If you are fat, it's sugar. If you are sick, it's sugar. If you got diabetes, it's the sugar. And if only and only if we get rid of the sugar, we are gonna get healthy and lose fat. And that's the hardest thing to do here in our society. And people are always asking me, hey, Ryan, I eliminated all the added sugar for a full month. I didn't lose a single pound. And I'm like, it is not that simple, everybody. It is not about what you eliminated, it's about the whole thing. So this is why I decided to do a podcast because nutrition and health is not one plus one equal two. It's not black and white. It's a whole thing that is connected to each other, including sugar. So today we are gonna explain everything we can in simple terms about sugar and why does it matter and why doesn't it matter. And in order to answer the question of is sugar really bad or is it fattening, we have to explain a little bit what is sugar and why does the why does the body need it and where do we need it and what is the effect of over consuming sugar or under consuming sugar. And we're going to dive into the research where there was sugar consumption along with weight gain or weight stable or weight loss and see what does the science and the research found out about this topic. And at the end, we're going to give some explanations and some recommendations and some anecdotes. So let's get rolling. The first thing we have to talk about is what is sugar? Sugar is a fundamental molecule for survival and body function. What this means is, in simple terms, it is that sugar is very, very necessary for health and function and survival. If you didn't have any sugar going around in your blood or your body, we can't survive actually. The brain uses about 100 grams of glucose a day, 100 grams of sugar a day. The red blood cells, our blood, can nourish itself only from glucose, only from sugar, and many other tissues. Many tissues are dependent on glucose, although some in low glucose states where we fast for a long time or we take on a diet, maybe the brain can get away with some ketones there. The body produces these ketones because there is low glucose and it is not a situation that the body prefers, but some tissues can get away with using fats or using proteins. Some other tissues can use amino acids for survival, but it is not a situation that the body prefers. So the first thing you gotta understand is that sugar and glucose mainly is extremely important for function and health. We mentioned there the brain, we mentioned the red blood cells, also intense exercise uses mostly carbohydrates and sugar. Also, the neural tissue, our neurons use sugar. We use sugar in almost everything. It is the primary source of fuel for our body, especially the brain. So it is before everything, it is a really crucial thing for life. It is not a devil. This is the first thing you gotta understand. And now people may say yes, so sugar, getting it from natural sources, it is good sugar, but the added sugar is bad sugar and it causes everything and obesity. And listen, the body doesn't differentiate between the sources. If you ate some added sugar in form of ice cream, for example, or you ate a banana, If there is glucose in there, it is gonna get glucose. The body got glucose, period. It is not gonna tell you, ah, this is glucose. Okay, where did you come from? Are you a banana glucose or an ice cream glucose? You're a banana glucose? Okay. Green light. Go to give us some health effects. And if you are from an ice cream, red sign and red flags. No, you are gonna give us all the cancer and you are gonna be stored as fat and everything. No, it doesn't work this way. If we ate some sugar, it is sugar, whether it is from fruits, whether it is from honey, whether it is from ice cream. However, when we eat these types of foods, we are not eating only sugar. If you eat a banana, for example, there is sugar in there, there is fibers, there is vitamins, there is all sort of molecules, there is phytochemicals, all this mixture of molecules that are present in there compared to an ice cream, for example. Ice cream is probably low in fibers and low in many other stuff and has other compounds that can impact the body and brain differently than a banana, for example. So here we gotta see the grand scheme of stuff and we gotta start seeing the whole thing. It is not only one thing. One thing doesn't cause anything by itself, um, generally, especially in biology. So you gotta put this in mind that if you ate sugar from an orange, from a banana, or from ice cream, the body doesn't differentiate it. It is about about the whole picture, not only the sugar. The sugar for the body is the same molecule. It is glucose. It is glucose. It is fructose. It is fructose. Period. There is nothing such as good sugar and bad sugar. However, we said that there are some other factors that impact this really well. As I gave you a small idea, there are many other compounds in a fruit compared to an ice cream, and all these will impact the overall effect of the food ingested. So this is the second point that we had to understand. So now moving on to the point of, does sugar cause weight gain? And it is the cause of obesity and everything. So before I explain this scientifically, I want to give you some data about what happened in the United States throughout the 1980s into nowadays, basically. So, in the 80s and 90s, fat was demonized at that point of time in the United States as obesity rates were going up, and so there was this idea of probably fat is the problem. So low fat diet started appearing and the whole campaigns and the influence that happened. So actually, fat consumption was being reduced in those years, and at the same time, sugar consumption was increasing. And as a result, by the year 1999, obesity rates were still up, even though fat consumption were lower. But they found that sugar consumption is much higher. It was approximated at 49 kilograms per year per person, 49 kilograms of sugar per year per person. So that was the peak in the United States of sugar consumption. So after this, I guess people in the United States were like, so fat consumption decreased, but obesity was still up. So it's probably the sugar because it also went up. It's probably the sugar that is causing all these issues. And then sugar consumption started reducing also. And in 2013, the data was that sugar consumption got lowered again by about 22%, but obesity rates still went up about 31%. This is a USDA Economic Research Service data. So, what does this tell you? Um, at first, they demonized fats, they tried to lower fats, but sugar increased and there were an increase in obesity. And after the year 1999, sugar consumption started lowering again, but obesity rates are still ramping up. So, where is the cause of obesity and weight gain? And it is neither sugar, neither fat, neither any other molecule. It's about the whole thing. It's about positive energy balance. The main bad effects or side effects that are reported in some research that are correlated with sugar consumption are due to weight gain. Most of them are due to weight gain. Most of the research that found correlations between sugar consumption and increased risk in cardiovascular disease, in diabetes, in metabolic syndrome, in metabolic disease, most of them were associated with also weight gain. So maybe the sugar was bad when it caused weight gain at the first place. Now, this is when it comes to the research that correlated sugar intake with all these bad effects. Most of them, first of all, they are not only eating sugar, there is a lot of saturated fats. Also, there's a lot of other things that are not perfect in their diets. There is a lack of physical activity, but they only looked at the sugar. So, to blame all these effects on the sugar is not scientifically accurate, and it never proves causation. It is just a correlation. It is not causation. So probably sugar is bad when it caused weight gain. So now you may tell me there are some research that showed some negative effects where there wasn't a gain in weight when they were in studies where weight gain was controlled and the participants were weight stable. So when it comes to the research where it was weight controlled, some of them had a negative impact associated with sugar consumption, increased sugar consumption, and some of them, most of them, they didn't show that significant of an effect. And many of the researchers that conducted those research and found some small differences associated with sugar consumption, they stated themselves that we can't say that it is the sugar because their diet wasn't that really strict and they had other stuff going on in their diet, including saturated fats, including also probably physical inactivity. So again, health is not about only sugar or only fat or only meats. It's about the whole thing. It's about your whole diet. It's about your whole state of being, your mental health, your physical activity, your sense of purpose. All of those stuff correlate into health. You can never say that something is bad. As we said, glucose and sugar is extremely important for health. And just like everything in biology, it is about optimal amounts and it's about balance. Everything in excess is bad, and everything under the requirements it's bad. So this is a concept that we are going to see again, again, and again with biology and throughout this podcast that nothing is good when in excess and nothing is good when under the requirements of our biology. Same is for sugar. Now, for those who still thinks that sugar causes weight gain in a way or another, let me tell you about what I'm going to talk about now, right now. The studies we are going to talk about now, there are studies that saw the effect of sugar while losing weight. So this debunks straight away the idea that sugar causes weight gain. There are some research that wanted to see the effect of sugar on weight loss. Does it reduce weight loss? Does it impair weight loss a little bit? Does it enhance weight loss? So before we get into that, just know that there are some research out there where people are losing weight while increasing their sugar intake. So here you get the idea that just saying that sugar causes weight gain is absolutely nonsense. It's stupid in some ways. So does it impair weight loss? Does sugar impair weight loss or does it enhance it? Well, in research, and I'm gonna put the references in research where they were seeing the effects of sugar on weight loss compared to high fat, low fat, all those. They controlled for all those, and there was absolutely in most of them there was absolutely no effect on weight loss. It's all about the calories. Not just simply saying all about the calories. There is more into it, but mainly the calories. So for weight loss, rule number one is calories, whether it's low fat, low carbohydrates, eliminating sugar, eliminating added anything. Rule number one is energetics. Energetics rule here. So, to summarize what we talked about, sugar is important for health and function. Sugar is really important, and having not enough sugar is not pleasant. As we know, for example, you hear the marathoners talking about hitting the wall when you have low, when you just run out of glycogen, your sugar stores in the body. It is not a pleasant effect. It is nothing but a pleasant effect. And people who do a ketogenic diet also feel this. You are lightheaded, you are fatigued. It is not a pleasant thing until your body adapts and gets into a state of ketosis, where it is using now mainly fats for survival, and it is also doing gluconeogenesis. So the body, when you deplete your body from glucose, it starts producing glucose from other sources. This is how important it is, sugar for health and for body survival. So that's the first thing we talked about. And we also talked about how there is no difference between natural sugar or, I don't know, whatever sugar you may talk about. Sugar is sugar for the body. But we have to see the whole picture. For example, all what's in a banana or an apple is very different to what is in an ice cream, for example. But the sugar is the same. A molecule of sugar is the same. So just saying that sugar is bad, it is a bit nonsense. And we also talked about how there was some research where consumption of sugar was associated with negative health effects, but most of these research had other stuff going around also, except the sugar, the diet, the physical inactivity, the weight gain. And we talked about how in some research where there wasn't any weight gain, there wasn't really very noticeable effects for sugar per se. And we talked about the weight loss research where sugar, low sugar, high carb, low carb, high fat didn't really matter, as long as the calories were adequate for a weight loss. There was no difference between those interventions. So now I want to give you some explanations, and I want to give you some implications, and why avoiding, now we are going to talk about why avoiding some types of sugar sources, let's say, can be better for the general public. So why is sugar really demonized? Because we get our sugar in our diet nowadays. We get it from some food sources that are highly processed and highly palatable, and this sources of food are high in energy and very palatable. They stimulate our reward system in the brain, they stimulate our dopamine, and they cause us to override our normal homeostatic satiety signals. So when we eat these types of processed foods that have added sugar, probably saturated fats, and many other stuff, first of all, they are highly palatable and they are very energy dense, and they stimulate our reward system in the brain. They stimulate our dopamine. So this causes us to overconsume. This is the first thing. It is it's put us on a state where we are more likely to overconsume. And these types of foods now, they are very energy dense. So we get a lot of energy for very low satiety, and we are also vulnerable for overeating. So this is the first thing. This might not be something that can help you in your long-term goals, in your health goals. And on top of these types of foods are very low in fiber, very low in vitamins, and very low in minerals. So what are the outcomes of these? First of all, you're going to eat a lot of energy, and you ate a lot of energy already, and you won't be really satiated afterwards. So you are vulnerable to overeating again. And on top, as we have said, you won't get enough of the vitamins, minerals, and fibers you need. And why do you need those? First of all, vitamins and minerals are extremely critical for health. They are extremely important for immunity, for body function, for energy, for all the things that are important for health. And while we are making food choices of these sources of processed foods, highly palatable foods that are nutrient poor, we will have low nutrient profiles basically, and that we won't have an optimal health status. And another thing is they have low fibers, so we probably are not supporting our microbiome, which is another compromise to health for various other reasons. We are gonna talk about the microbiome in big details in coming episode that is extremely important for health. So end results again, we are vulnerable to overeating again. We ate a lot of energy. We have low nutrients. We have low fiber. So it is not the best choices to eat most of the times. However, if we choose the other end of the equation, foods, if we choose foods that are minimally processed, whole foods, stuff like whole grains, fruits, vegetables, these types of foods have sugar in them also. But look at the other things that are in those foods. So let's take a fruit or a whole grain like oats or some nuts. So these types of foods have high nutrients, they have high levels of vitamins and minerals. These will supply your body with the quantities it needs for for optimal function and for optimal health from all the sides. And this is really documented in the literature and in the research. Various disease, chronic disease we are seeing nowadays, cardiovascular, diabetes, are associated with low vitamins and mineral status. And increasing those, and in the research where they use supplementations, it was shown over and over that they improve these diseases and these risks. So that's really important for your health to get enough vitamins and minerals. So there is that from a side, and from another side, for example, you're also getting a lot of fiber from these whole foods. And that fiber, first of all, it's gonna have a positive, important effect on your satiation. So you'll be more satisfied in your meal, and you'll be more satiated after it. So you're gonna eat less, and you are less likely to eat later. So overall, you're gonna eat less, and that fiber is also positively impacting. Generally, it impacts positively your microbiome, which will have a myriad of health effects. It will have a myriad on health effects, stuff such as hormone balance and neurotransmitters, health, and all the sides of health mostly are impacted by a healthy, strong microbiome. Fiber is also associated with lowering cholesterol and lowering and improving blood lipids profile and decreasing risks of cancer and of various disease. So you're getting all this myriad of health effects compared to the other processed foods. And on top, you're gonna eat less, meaning you're not vulnerable to weight gain, and you are less likely to be healthy. So the end point of all of this is you don't have to eat all the time this types of food to be healthy. And if you eat once or twice, or let's say 20% or 30% of the time you eat sugar, the demonized foods in our societies, you won't get fat because you ate a slice of pizza. You won't get diabetes because you ate a bowl of ice cream, but it's about your general diet. Look at your diet. What are you eating throughout the whole week, throughout the whole months? What are you eating most of the time? Is it that 60, 70, 80% of the time you're eating whole foods, unprocessed foods, the foods that are known to be better for your health most of the times, or are you eating most of the times the foods that are not really the best to support your health, stuff like processed foods and quote unquote junk food? So if you start making the shift, let's say you're eating 80% of 20% of quote unquote health foods and 80% quote unquote junk foods. I use the quotes for various reasons because there is nothing, when you look at it really, really objectively, there's nothing as a health food and something as a junk or unhealthy food. It's all about the whole diet. So make your whole diet healthy. So most of the times you're eating stuff that will impact positively your health, that will give you some immune support, some energy support, and everything that goes into it. And less often you're eating um, stuff that make you joyful. So if you're eating from now and then some of these foods that are really pleasurable foods, maybe this will give you really good mood, and a really good mood will improve your health 10 times out of 10. A really good mood will improve your health 10 times out of 10. So don't over stress about it. Just make small adjustments, build some habits to have more of the foods that will help you in your performance and health and all your life and improve your quality of life, and let yourself have some psychological boost from every now and then that will also support your health more than everything. So this is it for this podcast. Hope it was a bit clarified. um, Tell me what you think in the comments. If you like it, if you don't like it, what you'd like us to improve, and what would you like to hear about also in the next episode. So see you in the next one.